Ubuntu.
This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Rachel Fife.
Well, welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Now, if you are looking for therapy, insightful professional evaluations to guide your next steps, or supportive mental health programs for within your workplace, well, this resource is closer than you think. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Dr. Jasmine Reed, with Ubuntu Psychological Services. Dr. Reed, how is it going?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great. Well, I got to tell you, I'm really excited, and we're really excited to learn about your business and your services. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so in Ubuntu Psychological Services, we cover three different areas. We typically cover traditional therapy, and we do all of our therapy online, so we're able to reach anyone in California as well. So that's always a benefit. I think in today's times, people don't want to travel. And so we try to make it really convenient for you to be able to have your services in the comfort of your own home or wherever you need to be able to have those services. We also provide psychological assessments. And psychological assessments, we provide a plethora of them. So it can be from police assessments, where we do reevaluations for those who have went to the police department and didn't get a favorable evaluation. To we do a lot of autism assessments and intellectual disability assessments. To general mental health assessments, like people wanting to know what's going on. I've had these symptoms, and so I want to have an understanding. And one of the more popular ones I would say is like ADHD. People have not really understood ADHD in complexity. And so we're getting a lot of adults who are like, hey, I think some of this meets the criteria. So we do a lot of ADHD assessments. And then the last service, I think that is really tailored towards the need of the company is really providing EAP programs. So we help organizations if they need training, if they need assistance in being able to increase their performance. But we also come in as an EAP provider. So we can being able to provide wellness services, being able to help them understand like how can we increase performance by being able to utilize all of our EAP services, but even partnering up with already the EAP partner they have and being able to build out a plan so that their company can be able to have like a specialized service for their employees, because oftentimes our EAP plans are not being used. We're paying money for them and they're underutilization. So we want to be able to support as an organization and provide a specialized plan so that your employees can be able to have specialized services.
Oh, wonderful. Well, how did you get into this business?
Oh my gosh, the long story. I got into mental health because I thought it was like something for me. It was like for my community, it was taboo. It wasn't something that people talked about. I thought it was something that we didn't do. I grew up in the church, and so a lot of times it was just like you could pray, pray, pray. But I was like, I need something additional to support this prayer, right? Like, what's the additional step that actually takes me to the next level? And then so I got into mental health, recognizing that there was a gap between that. We can also have mental health services as well as have prayer and be involved in those spaces. Private practice was another journey. It wasn't something that I always say planned, but it was something that actually happened. And so I got into private practice wanting to be able to provide services and seeing the needs as a consultant for years, that there were things that people wanted to do, but we didn't have the flexibility to do in our company. And so that's kind of how I ended up having a private practice and specializing in those services. And then I found employees who also felt the need in those spaces. So it ended up working out really well. And so we continue to be able to help support people in those spaces when they need to help.
Wonderful. Well, what do you think are maybe some myths or misconceptions in your industry?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I always say that one of the things that's really hard for us is, there's lots of different shows or movies where you see a therapist do the wrong thing. And I'm like, no, that's not what we do, right? Ethically. So one of the things I think the myth is we take really seriously about our ethical and legal guidelines of what we're supposed to do. So what you say stays there. And so that's important because I think so often in a space where people are going on social media, or you're seeing these spaces where people are talking, and there's a lot of confusion around the difference between a mental health provider and like a coach or something like that, that we actually have legal and ethical obligations. So we can't just operate outside the scope of what we can do. And so we take those very serious. I think the other part is that there's always a confusion about that this is just like talking to a friend. And I'm like, I always tell people, like, at minimum, people have done 3,000 postgraduate hours to be able to get their license. And so there's a training, there's a dedication, there's an ability to be able to make sure that you were serviced in the space. And there's a continuous training. So there's not just, it stops there, but we continue to have to provide updated credits, provide trainings for our own internal department to make sure that we're on track to be able to assist people. So there's no offense to being able to say, hey, it's like talking to a friend. Yes, there's a benefit of talking to your friend, but there's also a training that comes into what we do. And so it's important for you to be able to have a space with someone who's trained and dedicated a good 4 to 5 years to make sure that they're in a space to be able to service you.
Wonderful. Well, now we know marketing is at the heart of every business. So, how are you finding your patients and clients?
Yeah. The great part that I think has always been good is that if you do good business, people come to you. And so they tell their friends, they tell their family. Starting off, we didn't have a marketing budget. We didn't have the money to run Facebook ads or any of those things, but we had really great clinicians, and they told their family and their friends, and we got a lot of it through word of mouth. The other piece is that, we market to those who have insurance in our area. I think a lot of practices oftentimes are private pay. We do have private pay, but we also market to insurance because we know, like, in this climate, that people don't have the additional funds. And so we want to utilize all of the resources you have. If you have a medical insurance, we're going to be able to market towards that. And so we take insurance because it's oftentimes something that is the only way people can get services. A lot of practices don't, and I understand that as well. There's some limitations in, and the complexities around taking insurance, but we want to make sure that clients who typically wouldn't get service would get service in those ways.
Wonderful. Now, have you ever thought about doing your own podcast by any chance?
No. Unfortunately, I'm like, one of the things I always say is that mental health, we like to be behind the scenes. So we don't want to be in front. So I want to do the work, and then we go from there.
I love it. Okay. Now outside of work, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh my gosh. I would say I love working in my garden. That is like my real fun thing. I have some strawberry trees. I have avocado, oranges, lemons. And so my new pastime is like, how can I keep them alive right now? So, because I'm always like laughing. People are always laughing because I'm always sending something to my house. Like, okay, I'm going to put my whole gear on and get this going. So that is really something that's become really peaceful. I like being grounded to the earth. I think there's a disconnect of, how we have connected. We're so busy in our life, but it gives you some peace to be like just out there, kind of noticing things, kind of being able to be connected in that way. So that's one thing. And I love hiking. I love going places, hiking places, seeing new trails. I love that aspect. I love being physical in that capacity. So, and it's good for your heart health. So you might as well add on something.
I love that. Wonderful. Well, Dr. Reed, please tell our listeners one thing they should remember about Ubuntu psychological services.
Yeah, I would say one thing that I would say that is important for you to remember is one, that our goal is, we believe in that it's a universal relationship. So as much as we need you as a client and you need us, we see our relationship as a mutual thing. And so oftentimes there's no hierarchy in that, but really for us to be able to understand that we work in a place where we need each other. And so we treat each other in that way. So there's always going to be a way of, us being able to think about how can we repair things? How can we be able to make sure that the client feels safe? Those are important aspects for us. And so we always push that because we know that we both are needed in both spaces.
Wonderful. Well, how can our listeners learn more about Ubuntu Psychological Services?
Yeah, so you can always follow us on any platform, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram at Ubuntu Psych. And then you can always look at our website. It's also www.ubuntu.psych. And so though you can always follow us there. If you're like, hey, I need something, all of our admin are well aware. They will contact you. And so they're well versed in being able to make sure they get in contact you. And we were going to text, email, whatever we need to do to get in contact with you, we're there to be able to support.
That is wonderful. Well, Dr. Reed, I really appreciate you being on the show, and I wish you and your practice really all the best moving forward.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnporangecounty.com. That's gnporangecounty.com or call 714-941-8862.
Awesome. Great job. Wow.